mean? I'm almost guaranteed to mess this up. You're the adult. You're supposed to tell me what to do.
What kind of a father would I be if I just ordered you around all the time?
A normal one?
That is a clip from Disney's Hannah Montana, where this tough role for you, it's a stretch, where you're playing the dad to your actual daughter. Is it weird?
It's great. It's a highlight of my life, getting to be part of Hannah Montana. And quite frankly, I have to give a lot of credit to my dad for getting me into acting. You know, in the mid-'90s, you know, my dad kind of took me to the side, you know, and I was lucky that he was always my best friend also. My dad said to me, he said, you know what, son? He said, I want you to have one of those careers like Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. I said, what do you mean by that, Dad? And he said, I want one that'll stand the test of time. And I said, well, how do I do that? And he said, well, look at Kenny and Dolly. They got into TV and films. You need to get into TV and films. And I respected my dad's opinion a great deal, so I happened to see where David Lynch was casting for Mulholland Drive out in L.A., and I thought, well, I'll throw my hat in the ring, see if they'll hire me. And they hired me. I went to a little audition, and he hired me. And he told me on the set, you know, I was a huge David Lynch fan, and he said to me, you know, Cyrus, I'm not your manager, your agent, but I'm telling you, you could be an actor if you want to be one. Just be real, like you're doing here in this movie. And so the next week, I read about this series called Doc, and it represented hope and faith and love. And I said, all right, God, if you want me to be an actor, then tell me what to do. And that voice said, go to the audition. I went to the audition. They hired me. 4 years later, 88 episodes later, I was a full-time actor. I'm on Doc, you know. It lasted for years and went into syndication. I came back from Toronto and said, all right, I'm going to get serious about my music. I'm never going to do another series ever again. Next thing I know, here comes Hannah Montana.
Okay,
you know?
so who was first, your daughter or you?
Miley was in first. The script came, and I read the script. As soon as I read it, I said, my goodness, this is Miley. I mean, only the little girl was called Chloe at the time. It was Chloe and Hannah Montana, and I said, this is Hannah Montana. And she went out to the audition, and they said she was too small, too young. And she came back, and she was real down, depressed about it. And about 4 or 5 months later, Disney called and said, hey, man, we'd like to take another look at you, you know. Let's see you again. She went out, and then she auditioned, and it narrowed down from hundreds of girls to 4 or 5. And somewhere around the 4 and the 5, a call came back, would your dad be interested in being the dad? And luckily, I had enough wisdom to know that, hey, that was Miley's ball game. And in all fairness to all girls that are auditioning, and in fairness to Miley, whether she gets it or she don't, I don't ever want her to look back and say, well, that was because of my daddy. So I said, you know what, the first thing is, you know, just see if Miley is Hannah Montana and how this is going to go, and then we could take it from there and figure it out. But the first decision needs to be made is, you know, who's Hannah Montana and where's she going to go? And so they called, a few days went by, and they cast Miley for Hannah, and they called and said, hey, we're hiring the daddy tomorrow, but we'd like, you know, to take a meeting with you. I went out there, and they kind of auditioned me, and you know, it was just pretty obvious the chemistry between Miley and I is just so real. It's, you know, and
are you at all concerned? I mean, the odds of Miley turning into Ron Howard, which meaning sane, pretty low. Living in Los Angeles, being a child star, hello, Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, name a million others. I mean, you know, we're talking security guard city with Gary Coleman.
On my wish list of things, I wish Miley would turn into Ron Howard so they'd cast me in a great big movie. With a good, you know, but since that's, like you said, that's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. Second of all, really, in reality, I know Miley's got a great head on her shoulders. She's got a great heart. You know, what I've always tried to be to Miley is what I am on the show. I try to be her best friend. I try to be that to all my kids. I try to be the one they want to talk to if they're having a problem. You know, I've always tried to be my kid's friend. And so I think she's going to be all right, but I'm the last guy in the world to cast a stone at any of these kids because, heck, man, I've made mistakes along the way, and I've been to the fair and seen the bear, and I happen to be very good at making mistakes. And but the key to making a mistake is once you realize you're not doing the right thing, then try to make a decision to readjust. And my dad always said, stand still, and then figure it out, and then take the step in the right direction. And I think all these girls, you know, Lindsay in particular at this moment, you know, I'm praying for her that you know, that she can get herself together. She just needs to turn the TV off and just focus on herself and getting her heart right and getting her head on, saying, okay, I can save this. Let me go back to salvage this.
Let me go back to something you just said, because I think I understand what you're saying, but and I think I agree with you in the way you mean it. But there's got to be a lot of people that are watching TV saying, you don't need to be your daughter's best friend. You need to be her dad.
Well, that's true. That's true. And I have to plead guilty on that charge. And one of the things I've had a problem doing, I've never been able to spank my kids. I've never been much on the discipline at all.
So wait a minute.
I taught them how to build a good snowman, how to ride a motorcycle, how to ride a horse, how to roast a wiener properly over a fire, and a good marshmallow. I've taught them, you know, those type of things. I was good at that. The discipline always left up to their mama. She was really, really good at that. I never was really good at that. But also, in my mind, again,
so wait a minute.
Are you her friend?
Are you saying to me that you're her buddy, and you're not the one who says you're going to load the dishwasher every night? Because I understand she does. She loads the dishwasher every night. She goes to church every Sunday.
She does.
You take away her computer privileges when she.
Her mama does.
You don't.
I don't.
You're like with.
No, you
around the corner, and you're like, I was with you the whole time.
Yeah, you know, her mama does a real good job, and I've yielded. You know, I just want to be the person. If Miley, you know, needs to talk to somebody, she can talk to me. I'll tell you one thing. I found it odd this morning.
Billy, hang on. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't be sorry. It's your show. You have to be sorry.
No, I know, but this is driving me crazy.
Oh, don't let it drive me crazy.
What is that? What is that from you then? Why? What is? Your dad was your best friend,
That's right.
But he taught you an awful lot.
That's right.
Was he not a disciplinarian? Are you? I don't mean to be crass here. Are you my dad. Are you a cowardly guy?
No.
What is it that you don't want to discipline your kid for?
You know what? The good news is with my kids, I don't have
I've
never found myself in a position to have to, really.
Well, it's because your wife.
They've really never done anything tragically bad, you know. They've made their mistakes, and we've been able to, you know, just kind of adjust and go our way through. I'll tell you this, looking at Lindsay's situation right now.
Yeah.
Well, I saw her dad on just about every network in New York this morning, out here talking about Lindsay, and I thought...
You actually ran into her dad.
Yeah, I seen him today at one of the places where I was doing an interview, and I sat there and I thought to myself, you know what? If that was Miley, I wouldn't be over here in New York doing interviews. I'd be catching a flight to L.A. and getting in there and just sitting down with her and saying, honey, let me just sit here. I don't care if it takes a day, a week, or a year. Let's just sit here till we figure this out. I'll order a pizza, you know, whatever it takes. But, you know, that's just my way of thought. And I'm not saying my way is right. Trust me. Different things work right for different people. You know, I swear it does. I know that.
Billy, I want you to know, I tell my kids this all the time. Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't tell I have 4 kids. I don't tell my 2 youngest. I tell my 2 older kids now. I've been bluffing my whole time at being your dad. Yeah. I have no idea. So I'm not judging you by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm just trying to figure, because I have done enough research on your family to know your family is together. Your kids are together. You've gone to the point to where you've said, you can keep, you know, I'm going to give you part of the house as you get older, because you ain't leaving. You're not leaving until you're 20.
Yeah.
What's the story on that?
Well, the story is it works better when they think it and they say it than when I do it and shove it at them. You know what I mean? Miley, I hope you're not listening. But, you know, when it's their idea, it works a lot better.
You just moved to L.A.
That's right.
And you had to move a second time once you got to L.A. because you had so many people coming to your door, ringing the doorbell saying, is Hannah Montana here?
That's right. Yeah.
What has this been like in L.A., the king of Plasticville? What has that been like? And now you're living behind a gated community, a guy who's, you know, from Kentucky.
It's odd for me, you know. Again, I miss my farm in Tennessee, you know. Yeah. I miss riding my horses and being out there and gathering eggs in the morning, and a lot of stuff about that that I love. And everything comes with a price. And sometimes you have to sacrifice. I had to put what I love and my selfishness behind me right now, because This is not only a great time for me to go through this with my family, but
Yeah.
I need to be there with my family.